Have you ever sat in on a presentation, whether at work or at a conference, where you literally just want to fall asleep, or maybe you have fallen asleep, or maybe you get bored, or you just lose interest and you check your phone for email, or you Twitter or Instagram, or maybe you're playing a game or something. It's the worst, right? You just want to leave your you know you're wasting your time. Well, if you're a presenter, if you're up on stage presenting, this is obviously not what you want your audience to look like. You want to hold their interest. You want to captivate them. You want to engage them. You want them sitting on the edge of their seats, listening and hanging on to every next word that you have to say. That's what we want. And a lot of times, we don't do that. And one of the big reasons is because of the slides that we have. Slides are an amazing tool. Unfortunately, we abuse the tool that allows us to create these slides, PowerPoint or Keynote. We use them in a way that bores people to death, and that's why there's this thing called death by PowerPoint. I found this really funny cartoon where this guy's being executed, but he's not being executed by a guillotine or a hanging or anything like that. He's being executed by being bored to death by a PowerPoint presentation. There's a guy pointing at the presentation in the little mask. And it's just so funny because it's so real, this death by PowerPoint thing. I mean, this is a typical slide you'll see at presentations, at board meetings, at conferences. And it's just, you're killing people when you do things like this. I mean, the bullet point situation, I mean, they're called bullet points for a reason. Why? Because bullets kill people, right? And because when people start reading this from the top, I mean, they see all these bullet points, they start reading ahead. And when they do that, they don't listen to what you're talking about. Plus, oftentimes you're just reading off of this bullet point list. It sounds totally boring and unprepared. And then you might think, well, you know, having all the information there helps me cover all the points I need to hit. And yeah, if you don't practice, and that's what most people do when they don't practice, they rely on the bullet points, they rely on the PowerPoint to help guide them through. And it just sounds boring, and it just shows that you haven't put in the practice. This is what happens if you don't know the content and if you don't believe in yourself. But I'll tell you what, if you know what you're talking about and you do believe in yourself, you don't need this, and you can make your presentation much more engaging. And here's the guiding principle. Slides are your trail guide. That's it. They're there to help trigger certain stories and case studies and things that you're going to say, but you're not reading off of them. They're there to trigger something, to be a visual to the story that you're telling, to the point that you're making. If you can consider slides to be your trail guide, it's going to help you in so many ways. You have to trust yourself to know the content that you're talking about, but you can use the slides as a trail guide, as that arrow that's going to point you in the right direction. Now, you've probably sat in presentations that are amazing, that have amazing looking slides, and then you try to do it yourself, you try to make it look great, but then you get frustrated, and then you punch a hole in your computer because it's too much work. But here's a hint, it doesn't have to be.